This bike rack sucks, but that's by design. This is the Smart Suction bike rack from Allen. This bike rack is held to your vehicle via 4 suction cups. Allen's not the first company to come up with the crazy idea to hold a bike rack on your car with suction cups. Seasucker started it years ago, but Allen has improved on it. The number one anxiety with any suction cup rack is the idea of a suction cup losing suction and your bike falling off the roof of the car. Allen has solved that by making this a smart rack. That's the smart in Smart Suction. This is a battery-powered rack with a phone app. So it monitors the pressure or the vacuum pressure in all 4 of the suction cups independently, and it will alert you anytime any one of the 4 starts to lose pressure. So it can be a catastrophic pressure loss, or even if it just starts to go down a little, it will alert you and let you know so you can pump it back up and make sure your bike stays safe. That monitoring from Allen provides that little bit of extra confidence knowing that your bike is securely attached to the car at all times. Allen has been making bike racks forever, and they're best known for nice, quality, entry-level bike racks. This rack is certainly a departure from their typical. This is something new, something innovative, something creative that you're not seeing from any other rack manufacturer right now. Seasucker's coming close, but the added ability to monitor the pressure, that's a game changer. You can now, with confidence, drive down the road knowing your bike is firmly attached. Before you install your rack on the car, first thing you want to do is figure out how long it needs to be for your particular bike. Every bike has a different wheelbase, so this can slide forward and back to meet whatever the wheelbase is for your particular bike. So you can kind of take a guess initially and then grab a bike and try putting that on the rack and see where it fits. That looks pretty good. I think I will call that good enough. And then make note, it is marked on the sides, so it's a little bit past 1,000. So that's where I want to slide it before I actually mount it to the vehicle. Once you mount it to the vehicle, you can't slide it back and forth, so that's why you need to do this ahead of time. Also, make sure you have the little red covers for all the suction cups on before you do this. You don't want to set the bare suction cups down on the ground, because then they'll get dirty and then they won't suck. They won't stick, and that's exactly what you don't want. So keep those suction cups clean. Always use these covers when it's not mounted to your vehicle. Next step before you mount the rack to your vehicle is you want to make sure it's clean. If you keep your car relatively clean, just a quick little wipe down is all it needs. But if your vehicle is quite dirty, you're going to want to make sure to fully wash it beforehand. So this is just the step before putting it on every time. This vehicle is kept relatively clean, so just a quick wipe down to make sure there's no dust on top, and it's good to go. I'm just using a microfiber cloth here. Now that I know the roof of the car is clean, I can add the rack. One important thing to keep in mind is both the front and back, they pivot. I've picked this up and had it swing around and pinch my finger quite violently and quite painful. So kind of keep that in mind when you're picking this up, that these do pivot and can grab you. So once you know where you want to put this roughly, then take off those protective feet. Stick that down and then pump the suction cup. And even, I can't see this one at all, but I can feel that it is done, because you really can't pump it up anymore. It doesn't bounce out anymore. And then pull the back out to where I measured it. So finding the marking on it. So it was just a little past 1,000. That looks pretty good. So I can take these covers off. I find it does help to kind of push it down initially, and then pump out the air, creating that suction. You can do them one at a time or 2 at a time, whatever works for you. One potential drawback of a suction cup mounted rack is anyone can just walk up and take it. They can just release the suction cups and grab it. So, Alan has provided this little lanyard here. It is a cable with just a little handle on the end. You can take that, stick it inside your car, shut the door, and now they can't grab that as long as your car is locked. Sure, someone can cut it, but it does stop that crime of convenience. At this point, I'm ready to attach the bike, and that's pretty much like any other fork-mounted roof rack. Set your rear tire in place, and then slide the front fork into place, and slide your through axle in. And then you need to tighten that down just like you would on your wheel. Once this is tightened down, it's not going to go anywhere. Grab the strap. Maybe adjust your wheel as needed because you don't want it rubbing up against spokes. And then you can slide that strap in. Get it good and secure so the back tire is not going anywhere. One thing I find kind of annoying is this strap is just a little bit too long. I have 50 mil tires on here, and the strap is just rubbing against the car. It's a fairly stiff strap. If I had thinner road tires, there'd be even more strap rubbing on the car. So, I don't know, I wish that was a little cleaner. There was somewhere I could tuck this away and keep it from rubbing on the roof of the car. Now, it's important to note this isn't a leave it on your vehicle permanently kind of rack. You're going to want to take it off regularly. And each time you want to use it, it's take the rack out, wash the roof of your car, or at least wipe it down, then attach the rack, then pair the rack with your phone, then attach your bike, and you're good to go. Now, the pairing with the phone is what I found to be the most challenging part of that sequence. Oftentimes, it just doesn't work. It can take just a few seconds to pair, or it can take several minutes of deleting the rack completely, adding the rack back, repairing. I haven't figured out the trick, but it is sometimes a royal pain. Also, being an app, it's worth noting that you need to create an account with Alan. So you do need to log in to use your bike rack. So that's a little awkward, and I know some people have issues with creating accounts and apps, so bear that in mind as well. Full transparency, Alan did provide me this rack, but they have had zero input into the review itself. All my opinions are my own. They didn't tell me anything to say. They just said, hey, we've made this rack. Do you want to try it out? And honestly, I did. I wanted to try it out for two reasons. One, my wife's car doesn't have a bike rack on it at all. It used to, but it drove her nuts. She hates having bike racks on her car, just gets in her way. So I wanted something that I could quickly put on her car, take off without needing a hitch, without needing roof rails, any of that. And this certainly meets the bill. It's also small enough that I can keep it in her car and just have it there. So when I need that spouse Uber for an emergency pickup, wherever she is, she has a rack and she's ready to help. The other scenario is my Volkswagen camper van. I don't have a hitch on it, and I don't really have any good way to carry a bike on it. I do have a roof rack, but then it won't fit in the garage, so that's not really an option. So I have jerry-rigged a trunk rack to kind of work on the back, but that is hokey as hell, and I don't really trust putting any bike on it. So I end up putting my bike inside, which once it's muddy, dirty, it's really not the ideal situation. Let's do a quick test here and see how quickly the phone app reacts when the suction cup loses pressure. So to remove the rack, there's these little bumps on both sides. Pick one of those up, and it's done. And there's the notification on the app. When you lose pressure, the plunger will stick out, and there's red indicating that you're in the danger zone. Typically, if you're losing pressure, it's going to be something like that, where you just start to see a little bit of it, and you can catch it well before total failure. But obviously, I demonstrated the catastrophic failure scenario. But when it happens, just start pumping that up again, and pump it until the red disappears. And I usually go a little bit more just for fun. And now it's super secure again. When this is loose, the bike will wobble, but it's still well attached. It's not going anywhere. So losing one suction cup is not a catastrophic event. Realistically, you're not going to encounter any scenario where it just catastrophically fails like this, but it's going to be just a gradual loss of pressure over time, if anything at all. I haven't seen any loss of pressure. I haven't seen that app notify me at all for any scenario other than my own fabricated scenarios. I don't know how it is on Android, but on iOS, all you get is the default notification sound. So you get the same notification for a text message as you do for your bike is about to fall off the roof of your car. You can't customize it in iOS, which is infuriating. I really wish it was a significant alarm sound. So within the app itself, I think that's a feature they could add. If you have the app open, it can scream at you when this happens, instead of just relying on the OS notifications, which is just a little bleep, which is super easy to ignore. Now the app does work with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can get that integration. But again, it's just not an in-your-face, dire emergency kind of alert. While I think the app is a great idea and it really does help alleviate some of that anxiety, I really wish they took just that little extra step. So something like my Nog bike alarm, the app will shriek the loudest, most obnoxious sound when you're anywhere near your phone when the alarm is triggered. This needs to be similar. And the CarPlay integration, as far as I can tell, unless you're staring at the screen when you lose suction, you're never gonna know. There was no audible notification in the car whatsoever. All right, so the app is clearly a work in progress, and overall, I think they will improve that over time. This is V1, this is the first release of the software, first release of the rack. With a software update, they should be able to resolve most of those wrinkles. And overall, even with those wrinkles, the app is still useful. So I find this rack works as advertised. It'll hold my bike just fine. I've had no failures, no slight losses of pressure, no issues whatsoever. The rack has just been solid, both vertical on the back of my van and horizontal on the roof of my car. The rack is designed to work with quick release mounts by default, and then there's this extra attachment here for through axle. And it fits a variety of through axle sizes, both standard and boost. You're fine there. But yes, you do have to mount this extra piece on here. And if you're switching between quick release on some bikes and through axle on others, that can be a bit of a hassle to go back and forth. Take this bolt out, remove this piece, and then add in the quick release attachment. Alan says you shouldn't use a bike that weighs more than 35 pounds. So I chose the heaviest bike I have, which is this Primos Dame. It's 30 pounds. Now, most people probably aren't going to attach this vertically on the back of a van, but you can. It's totally supported. The core scenario is on the roof of your car, and that's certainly much easier. You have less weight pulling on the suction cups, but still, either one is just as stable. So with all the technology in this rack, it's not cheap. It's $600. But if you have the right scenario where this rack meets specific needs because no other rack is going to work for you, $600 is a bargain. So if I've piqued your interest at all and this rack meets some of your needs and you want to purchase one, please check the link in the description below. It's an affiliate link, so I do get a small kickback and it costs you nothing extra.